Hello and welcome to another video from fantasyfootballscout.co.uk. Today I'm joined by David to discuss the latest team and injury news from this week's press conferences with Gameweek 15's deadline in mind. David, how are you?
Yeah, very frazzled. A lot of the information comes in very quickly, and it's a quick turnaround from the previous game week. There's a lot of information to process, a lot of concern over one particular team, which I'm sure we're going to talk about first. I feel a little bit like a conspiracy theorist, as do many of the people that we engage with on Twitter as well. So,
Yes,
yeah, not quite
definitely.
myself.
Yes, definitely. Well, that's Man City because we're always the spectre of rotation always looms large over them, but particularly this week with three games over just a week's period as well, and it's driving the community mad as well. And they're trying all sorts of things to try and second guess Pep. One of our followers on Twitter, Kun Karam, has taken Pep rotation speculation to a whole new level. He posted up an image from training this week, with Man City training, that is, with someone he believes to be Aguero in the background. We were unsure, and he's even taken the step of analysing the blurred image, and I'm putting it up on screen now. So this is he's got his ruler and his abacus out, and and he's identified the height of the figure in the background, the blurred figure with the white hair. Could be a hat, could be Aguero's hair, as being Aguero. But, of course, it's probably all pointless because we've had more updates today. So what's the latest, not only from Pep, but also from social media regarding the Man City lineup?
Well, I think we firstly have to absolutely applaud Kunkaram for this, for going to this level. Because, yeah, I mean, just the little timeline of it was that the pictures that went up on Getty Images, no picture clearly showed Aguero training. And the reason that we went into so much detail on this image was this was the only image in which he might have been in.
Right.
He definitely wasn't in any others, which was kind of made me think he probably didn't train, because we saw most of the players. I feel like any photographer there would probably take a picture of Aguero if they could, unless Guardiola was standing there making sure that people were or weren't taking pictures of different things. So actually, to be fair, is entirely possible because we know what Guardiola's like. But yeah, the update that we've had this morning is that basically he's not been photographed with the travelling squad. So Manchester City took the train down to Watford, and there's pictures of them arriving at the station in a big group. Aguero not pictured in that group. Neither was Zinchenko, who I think broke his nose in the previous game. And of course, that doesn't mean that they weren't with the group. It just means that they weren't photographed with the group, which means they probably are not with the group.
Okay.
Which is good news for a lot of people who are selling Aguero, because that's obviously the big move that everybody's making this week. The only side thing, Twitter did its thing again. There's a guy who I think is just a member of the public walking in the opposite direction as the Man City team. Suggestions that could be Aguero in a hat, but you know.
Why would he go to all that trouble of hiding himself? So it sounds like it's very probable that Aguero is going to miss out again.
Absolutely, yeah.
Also,
I think so.
There are reports, unconfirmed reports I've been reading on social media, that he had a setback in training, and he could indeed miss this coming weekend's match as well with Chelsea.
That's come from Jamie Jackson, who, as we all know, is our best friend and we love him to pieces.
It is. And now Jamie Jackson, we had a bit of a pop at on our breakfast club, but he did correctly say that Aguero probably wouldn't.
Well, he wasn't wrong. He may not be involved.
He may not be involved. So, he was so, that use of the word may was very, very shrewd by Jamie. I think he saved himself from a pitchfork riot. Okay, well, that would indicate that perhaps Delph might be playing at left back.
I would suggest so. Yeah,
which could indicate that Sané is needed for his speed down that flank, which could be good news. So we still don't know about the others as well. Here's a quote from Guardiola on rotation I saw. Which I'll read it out for what it's worth. I have a deep squad. I trust a lot with the players. Of course, there are a lot of games and they're going to be involved with that. Always what we do in the right moment is to do well today in the game we are going to play. It means absolutely nothing. We have no idea who's going to start, really. But I'm going to go out on a limb.
He'd make a good Prime Minister, wouldn't he?
I would. It would indeed. But I'm going to go out on a limb and say I think David Silva's going to play. Also photographed going down there, but he was at rested for most of the last game, so that's why I'm going to go out on a limb there. So Still none the wiser, but thanks to Kun Karam, we at least know Aguero's height. So on to Manchester United now. Their ranks are quite depleted against Southampton. How are they shaping up for Arsenal's visit?
Well, the great thing is we just have no clue, and the reason that we have no clue is because Mourinho said, "I'm not telling you." And I just love that. There's a slight update on the website where they basically the press team just kind of told us who's already got a knock, which we kind of already know that already. The only slight piece of new information was that Lukaku, the reason he went off, he had a knock as well, which that's nothing major. He's owned by less than 5% now, I think. So, but then when asked by the journos, can we have a slightly more specific update other than Mourinho just said it doesn't look great? He said, no, I'm not going to tell you because, and he went on some rant about how, Arsenal TV weren't asking Emery to provide more specific details or something like that. So he was like, so why should I tell you? So he's had a falling out now with the people who run Man United TV.
Oh, really? Okay.
So, he just loves falling out with people. So maybe that's the key story. That's the key story for Man United is he's falling out with everybody. So, in terms of just what we think may happen, with Shaw possibly is a risk, so he might not play, which might mean that Diogo Dalot finally gets his debut. Obviously, Ashley Young is suspended, so any number of either Darmian or Valencia or Dalot can play left or right. Any of those three could play at right back. Rojo could start because he was deemed fit enough for the bench against Southampton, but not fit enough to start. But I think it was quite obvious that playing a back three, which contains one centre back and two central midfielders, doesn't really work. So he may start with Jones and Rojo at the back. And then as for the rest of the team, I mean, it's the thing with Man United is you just never know. Mourinho seems to always be falling out with someone. The only thing I would say is I reckon that Martial probably will start because he didn't against Southampton. So.
Yeah, no, I think you're right there as well. Mourinho being quite coy, basically saying that it's going to be a patched up squad, but we just don't know quite how patched up it's going to be. We did get something slightly better from Chelsea, perhaps. Sarri, he's had a couple of injuries, most notably Alonso. Had a bit of a worrying niggle at the end of the last match. So how are they shaping up ahead of their encounter with Wolves?
Yeah, so this is an interesting case of where we kind of test our policy in terms of what we at Fantasy Football Scout counts as whether or not we should be sort of flagging them up in the injury section on our website because. Sarri said he spoke with the doctor and he said there's no injuries, right? And he said that there was problems with Kovacic and he revealed that a back injury was the reason that Alonso was substituted against Fulham. And he thinks they're ready. He said, but they are ready to play, which sounds confident. Good. But then there's another quote where he basically says, I do just want to speak. They've got another training session, so we'll see. And I want to speak to the doctor again. So it's kind of take your pick. In one sense, we'd love to put some, we could put 75% on both of them because he says he wants to have another look, or at the same time we'll say, well, okay, he said they're ready to play, so there's no doubt. So it might be a translation issue, you know what I mean? Sarri's English isn't completely perfect, so I would say that there's certainly a slight doubt about Alonso and Kovacic. I mean, Kovacic generally there's a doubt over anyway because him and Barkley tend to share minutes, but of course nobody's really bothered there. Alonso's the big one, isn't it? And if I'm being honest, I don't know who's going to play. I mean, I think that's going to be the recurring theme for Gameweek 15. Is it's between him and Emerson, who has now got minutes in the Europa League. Obviously, came on for him at the weekend. So,
he has options there, and of
absolutely.
Course, it just depends whether he think Alonso and some of the other key players there can play 3 matches in the space of a week.
It's Man City coming up, isn't it? So
Man City's coming up. So it would be a good time logically to rest Alonso there, but you never know. I mean, he does offer something that Emerson doesn't. He offers something that so many other fullbacks don't offer, and it's that eye for goal and that pace, and he can really points at both ends of the pitch there. Over now Liverpool as well, so they're travelling to Burnley, and there was a couple of injury concerns there, Robertson and Mane in particular. So what's the latest from Jurgen Klopp?
They're not too serious, but in the case of Sadio Mane, Klopp did actually specifically say if the game was on Tuesday, then he wouldn't play. So then that kind of would send alarm bells ringing to me if I'm a Mane owner. He's basically got a cut on his foot, it's need to be stitched, and I love this quote actually because it's kind of like classic Klopp. He said he's walking around now, but he's in flip-flops. And as you know,
Right.
we don't play in flip-flops. So that would be where the problem would come from, is that he might not be able to get his boots on without some pain. So I think we would expect Mane to be a rotation risk in this game anyway, because, again, the current theme with the quick turnaround, there's going to be lots of rotation. So the fact that he's got this on his foot just seems highly unlikely that he's going to play, especially when there's loads of options that they can use in that front three. I mean, we thought they had loads anyway, and then Divock Origi reminds us that he still exists at the weekend. So there's so many options that could turn up. I mean, we've got a predicted front three on our predicted lineup of Firmino, Salah, and Shaqiri, which I think is probably quite likely. Salah obviously came off, didn't he, towards the end of that game of the weekend, so I think he'd start. Robertson, he doesn't sound as serious. It was a dead leg, so obviously that's not quite as serious as the cut. But again, it's a case of Klopp's just saying we need to have a look. And again, I think he would be a risk anyway. So we've got Moreno as in our predicted lineup, because it just doesn't make any sense for Klopp to risk him in this game, because it's Burnley. I mean, Burnley have been offering so little going forward. I think if there's one game you can kind of risk playing Moreno in, it's probably this one. So
it's true. I mean, Burnley haven't been great going forwards. Worth noting that the time that Moreno did replace Robertson this season was a home game against Cardiff, and that completely spoilt Liverpool's marvellous home record of clean sheets. So that the worry there is if you own another Liverpool player, because Moreno, I mean, not to disparage him too much, but he's pretty much the kiss of death when it comes to clean sheets. And if pretty much any team can exploit that, if Cardiff can, I think Burnley can as well. So that could be a worry for the rest of the defence there. But obviously, I wouldn't say bench them. I mean,
absolutely. I mean, this is exactly the kind of game you're going to start him in anyway. It's just something to be aware of, isn't it?
Yeah, that's true. Now another fullback, Kieran Trippier, has been out for a couple of games for Spurs. Any update whether he's going to be back?
Yeah, so it sounds like he is ready to go. That's the update that we've got, and that doesn't mean he will start. It just means he could start. The red flag will come off him because of what's been confirmed by the club and by Poch. So an interesting one, because we've been talking about it with respect to Christian Eriksen, for example, because I think that might be perhaps maybe the biggest fantasy talking point in terms of that, because some people have been considering Eriksen. We've obviously tipped him up as a differential both on the Scoutcast and in the article we've run today. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But it is good news, I think, for Trippier owners, straight up. Obviously, that's good news. But also for anyone looking for investment in that area of the pitch going forward, because even if he doesn't play this week, the fact that he, because maybe Poch just kind of wants to ease him back in, having him there long term, I think he's going to be good for this run. One last thing also is he links quite well with Kane. So if you've just signed Kane, which you probably have, whoever's listening, because most people have, then that's probably good news as well.
Yeah, no, I mean I'm a new Kane owner. That pleases me. I've got Christian Eriksen as my differential in our latest Scoutcast for this game week, so I have hopes there. But Trippier back is something I'm holding off in terms of getting Eriksen into my team, because I want to see them both together, because we've seen already this season that when Trippier plays, then Eriksen's corners and free kicks, they go down, and that's where he's a real potent threat. That's where he can build up his assists. So I'm less keen on Eriksen if Trippier is back and is a regular starter, but I'd like to see, because as you said, the fixtures are fantastic going forward. Looking at the rest of the fixtures, have we got any other notable lineup or injury news that we should be aware of?
No, nothing particularly more notable outside of that. I mean, it's more just kind of what I would describe as housekeeping outside of that. Okay. So with Fulham, Schürrle is now available to play, so he's probably the biggest one outside of that. Aite is going to miss out, but that's not really a big deal. I mean, Newcastle, they're going to be without Dummett again, and then there are any other injuries after their bench. So that of the press conferences we've had today, nothing particularly big outside of what we've kind of discussed in detail already. So. Yeah,
okay. I mean, the only other things I've noticed that we don't really know about Balbuena yet. Is that right with West Ham? He could be an injury doubt.
He's injured out from yesterday.
Yeah.
And we were actually going to stick him in. We're going to stick him in our scout picks this week. And then when we heard about that, we thought perhaps maybe we leave off. So
continues to be a doubt as far as we know.
Yes, as far as we know. That's right.
There was something I noted as well in Marco Silva's press conference, with Everton. It just, I mean, something, I don't know, just something to bear in mind. I think it says we don't have much time to recover from the last match, so hopefully we'll have more time to prepare in the future. It is possible I make some changes. Once again, it doesn't really tell us much, but it is at least the manager admitting that there's going to be some changes there.
Yeah. There's been the recurring theme of a lot of these press conferences is that they tend to all basically say the same line of it's short turnaround, so maybe make some changes. In that particular case, I think Ademola Lookman looks like the most likely to come in if he's going to come in. Who he comes in for, but obviously we have no idea.
That's good. I mean,
most managers have been fairly coy about who they may or may not bring in. I think the only manager who ever really tells you exactly what he's going to do is Neil Warnock. He always just spells it out for you. So
annoyingly, he's in charge of one of the worst sides. So
yeah, exactly. I mean, I would give anything for him to be the Manchester City manager. I'll tell you that.
That's sad. I'm sure everyone in Manchester, on the Manchester City side of Manchester, would disagree with you there.
That would be an awful, Man United fans would love it, wouldn't they?
Be an appointment of the decade. I think we'll leave it there then. And on that bombshell of Warnock taking over, David, good luck with the game week, and good luck with the last minute transfer decisions.
Yes, thank you very much, and to you as well.